Do it, Brad.
Pop culture. You're this
Say
show, This is a pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm Wild Thing GIF. See, I got it in there for you, Pete.
That was well done.
Thank you.
Oh, he's given himself a new nickname that makes no sense. Cool.
Well, it's
inside
not the
joke.
first time. Yeah, we don't make sense on
podcast.
pop culture.
Do a
Yearbook.
podcast for 3 people. That's all.
If you want something that makes sense, go to another podcast.
Right. Yes.
This
We are
isn't it.
talking about an album tonight.
Not just any
So,
album.
You
This
may have
is
heard
a-
about it 2 weeks ago when we made our big choices. Pete, why do you love it?
This is not just any album. This is a freaking kick-ass album, top to bottom. If you ask me, that's just my personal opinion.
Certified freaking kick-ass.
In a way, this album that we are going to discuss was sort of transformative for me because obviously heavy metal music existed before this, but I was kind of scared of the people that listened to it, and I, just really wasn't into it. You know how I was back in those days.
Sure.
And so I just didn't really get into it as much. But then when this album came out, particularly Sweet Child of Mine, obviously, with that guitar intro, it just pulled me in and actually got me interested in metal and other bands as well. So I remember, it really became big. I got a few things I'll say about the album and as far as when it became big and everything. But when it became big, we were all in middle school between like 6th and 7th grade. We were just talking about off air. And so that's, probably the perfect age for this for this album to come out. It's just when you're kind of figuring out the different genres that you like. And they would play these songs, especially of course, Paradise City and Sweet Child of Mine at the middle school dances and stuff like that. So it was always just a banger. It was one that got everybody out on the floor. Like it wasn't just a stupid slow dance where I would be sitting in a corner, watching everybody else. But, yeah, just God, what a kick-ass couple of songs and a great album.
What is
So-
the name of the album that we're talking about? You're being very
Oh,
mysterious.
did I not say that?
No.
Well, I'm sorry. We are talking about Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction.
Oh, good. That's the one.
You did listen to the right one, right? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right, Brad, what say you?
Well, yeah, it was big. No, this is one kind of like Hysteria with Def Leppard when we did that back then. I'm pretty sure I never owned this album, but I do know
I had it.
that I have sat and listened to the whole thing through more than once. So I don't remember like whose it was or where I got it from or why I had it because I really don't think I ever owned it, but I know I've listened to
You
it.
stole
I know
it.
I've
Stole it.
had
You
it in my
stole it.
possession. But I do remember when they started getting big. I was pretty young for this kind of music, like you said. But my brother was home from college and he was enjoying probably Sweet Child of Mine in the car. And so, if he thought it was cool, then of course I thought it was cool. So I would distinctly kind of remember the first time I listened to some of these songs with him, thinking that he probably wouldn't like it, but he did. I also
What a nod to your brother there. It's a very nice thing to say. It just shows how influential your brother was on your taste in music there.
yeah, but he won't listen, so he won't ever know.
Well, he doesn't have good taste in podcasts, apparently. He's got great
I
taste
also
in...
loved the way that Axl moved. When I saw the videos and I saw
Yeah.
the way he could do that with his legs, and I never could figure out how he did it, and I wanted to do it so bad, and I thought it was so cool. So that brought me into I find them to be a very interesting band to talk about because they are so massive and one of the biggest bands really ever, but they don't have a big or deep discography at all. They pretty much have 2 that were ginormous and then, a couple smaller ones and then that's it. So, we'll get into more about the band as it comes, but it's interesting to look back and think about how massive this was. And then, they didn't really put out a ton of stuff like you would
That
think.
is true. That is true. Because they were just, like you said, use your illusion is what you're talking about.
Correct.
And I guess I didn't think of that before. That
There
you're
was
right.
Lies.
They didn't have
The
a lot
Lies
of.
was half of a live album, and it just kind of came out at the same time this was big. So it's almost other than Patience, you didn't know a lot about that one. And then I didn't realize that what was it? The spaghetti incident came out after Use Your Illusion. So they did have one more after that, but that wasn't very big. And then they had all these, this talks about coming back together forever and ever. And when they finally did, it didn't go over all that well. So
Yeah, Axl's a bit of a head case, kind of known for, not, showing up to shows or showing up really late and then being hammered. I mean, he kind of got a little full of himself.
sounds kind of like Gifford when he comes to the podcast. We never know if he's going to show up or if he's going to be hammered.
If I'm going to be hammered, if I'm going to get hammered during. Well,
Doing
first off,
heroin.
what I would like to do is I would like to welcome Jim from Children of the 80s to his listen. He can literally rock out with his out because he likes to listen to us in his morning shower now on Mondays. So, Jim, I hope you're going to enjoy this killer episode on a killer.
We learned that when we recorded with them, but that episode hasn't come out yet, so it's a little secret that we know about Jim. That
sneak preview. But it is really a great shower listening podcast that we have. I also like to put it on during a romantic evening. Instead of Barry White, I like to have Pop Culture Yearbook play in the background. Valentine's Day is coming. Well, as of this release date, it will have already passed, right?
It's already
sorry about that.
Yes, but in real world time, it's still on its way. But in podcast land, it has passed us by. I'm with Pete on this in that and with Brad too, I guess. I didn't own this album, and some of the songs that I listened to last night in preparation for this, as far as I know, is the first time I've heard them. But I'm very familiar with the massive hits off of this. I remember listening to it on the radio, and then particularly at school dances in the lunchroom in Russell, and just rocking out to these bangers that are on this album. So brought back just fun memories listening to the songs. And then, it's fun just to have, I listen to, some oldie stations now, for God's sakes. And this is what's on the oldie stations, or classic rock stations, if you will. And it's always fun to hear those massive hits again, and just remember back to a simpler time at the Russell Middle School when this first appeared on the scene.
That surprises me that neither one of you owned this album. I owned it. How come you guys didn't? That's crazy.
I didn't own a lot of albums.
Well, I would have thought Brad would have had it.
Terrestrial radio is where I heard, a lot of the music that I grew up on.
So I got to think back. I'm guessing I probably did own the CD after I got my CD player. So that would have been, after this was big. This would have been early 90s when I would have got it.
Okay.
But I don't have it anymore because I looked at my CD collection, and I've sold a lot of CDs over the years. Like, I bought and sold things, but usually they were things like Four Non Blondes and Color Me Bad. I wouldn't think I would have necessarily sold this one, but I'm starting to think that I probably owned it, and I probably traded it in during one of my big trade-in binges one time. So, but I can't remember for sure.
CDs came out. You were, like you said, in the 90s. You were kind of past this kind of music, probably. You had a whole, that's when you had REM, and there was Nirvana and some of the other good stuff that we're more closer to. We weren't as close to Guns N' Roses as some of the other ones.
I just have to say, what's going on? You're selling Four Non Blonde CDs? Like, that just is crazy to me.
And Color Me Bad. Yeah. All right. I've got a couple of fun facts about the album, if you care to be entertained. This one, Appetite for Destruction, was the best-selling debut album, which surprised me, of all time. It sold over 30 million copies worldwide, but it took some time. We were just talking about this before we started recording. It took a little while to gain popularity. It was released on July 21st, 1987, but didn't gain significant success until almost a year later, when Sweet Child of Mine became a massive hit. Which does make sense, because that's just that's in a league of its own, that song.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. That's one thing I did not know, and that I learned here, is that because you think of an album like this, it's one of the biggest albums of all time. Like, how did it not? And they kept saying they didn't want to play the songs, and they didn't think they were good, and And they finally, this one station decided they play Welcome to the Jungle, and they're going to play it, and however many times, and it finally took off. But it's like, how is that possible in the middle of Def Leppard and hair bands and all this stuff going on?
Motley Crue and Bon Jovi, and I mean,
fascinated to learn that it could sit for almost an entire. But I guess if you go back to our Hysteria one, the kind of the same thing happened with Def Leppard too, and they were already an established big band.
I can't imagine listening to Welcome to the Jungle or even Paradise City and saying, you know what, this doesn't. No,
I turned on Welcome to the Jungle after reading them. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This song is. How does it not hit you right?
That freaking rocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and it was critically panned. When it first came out, critics weren't real hot on it, and then now retrospectively, everybody's like, this was one of the greatest albums of all time. Just amazing. It's like, well, how didn't you get it in the first place? And I mean, you look at the release dates. Yeah. You look at the release dates. So Welcome to the Jungle was the second single released in September. And then Sweet Child of Mine was almost a full year as the third single. And like you say, that's when it took off. They went on a tour to support the album. And then it finally started catching on as the tour continued, and then radio play, got a hold of it. And finally, by a year later, it really started going through the roof. But totally agree. I mean, the way this album starts with Welcome to the Jungle, I mean, it just grabs you and doesn't let go. So I don't know how critics didn't say better things about this.
Forget the critics, like how how radio stations and fans didn't just jump on it right away. That's the crazy.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
The next one, it actually, here's one that you think about, just one of those things. If this had gone differently, how much history would have been changed? You think about the cover art. There's actually an original cover that was banned. It was a painting by somebody named Robert Williams depicting a robot rapist being attacked by a revenge-seeking metal Avenger. Now, I didn't actually see the picture or anything. Maybe it is online, but that's the description that I found. So I'm just trying to envision a robot rapist being attacked. Oh, you got it there?
Well, it's right off of Wikipedia. That's the original art.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, what I found interesting was that description, but then the other initial picture that Axl Rose wanted for the cover was the Challenger blowing up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Oh, wow.
Damn. So, I mean, you think of the iconic skulls on the cross, cover, which is so cool, but that it went through these. I mean, something as stupid as, let's put this horrible, tragic event on the cover of just randomly on our album. It's like, what are you doing, man?
On your debut album, not even like you're an established band,
Not even ironic.
Debut, and you're gonna start that off, that way. We talked about how it took off late. So the year-end Billboard 200 in 1988, it ended at number 6 overall. The next year in 89, it ended at number 5. So released in 87, top 10 in 88, and then even higher in 89. I mean, this thing had quite a life as far as charting.
Wow. But you did mention, Brad, and it was just kind of my next point leading from the cover art, just thinking about how iconic that Skulls and Cross design was, and that made the band. I mean, when everybody had those T-shirts, all the cool heavy metal guys had the T-shirt and everything. That's what you envision when you think of Guns N' Roses. It's the first thing that pops into your head, and it's probably the most iconic symbol for a band as anything, right? Like when you think of Guns N' Roses, you think of that logo.
You have skulls, whatever, that fits the theme of heavy metal and stuff. But you look at them closely, they're each guy in the band, so you kind of meet the characters, the guys, and you can they're Slash. So it's cool how they they dressed them up, but it's very subtle. It's not like it's in your face because they're little.
Absolutely,
so I love that.
Axl Rose was able to do the vocal takes at the last minute, just a remarkably few number of takes, which showcases raw energy and talent. And the lyrics and themes of this album were inspired primarily by the band's personal experiences in Los Angeles, including addiction, street life, and the darker side of the rock and roll lifestyle. So that's what I have as far as fun facts. Anybody else have anything to add or other fun facts? Yes. Yes.
Can I follow up on that? Because you brought it
sure.
up. So so my favorite band, R.E.M., all their albums have like the two sides with like just kind of names to go with. So you mentioned the drugs and the sex and everything. And this is cool because it's the G side and the R side. And the G side is for guns. And that's the side that's all about drugs and sex and life in the city. Well, maybe not sex. I take that back. The R side, which is the roses, that's our Valentine's theme. That one's about love and sex and relationships. And that's where you'll find, Sweet Child of Mine and the ballady type ones if they have any. So I like it when there's a theme and they name things like that, and you can definitely listen to the songs and it fits.
I didn't pick up on that. I didn't know that, and
I didn't know it either till I read it.
Well, it explains why "Sweet Child of Mine" is so deep in the lineup.
Okay,
because that should be number 2.
So from my memory of the album, I remembered thinking that the big 3 hits were the first 3 songs. And I'm looking at the track list. I'm like, Child of Mine is number 9. What the hell? So that was something that I had completely forgotten about and found. And then I was like, why? But then when I read that, it made a little more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Brian, you had something to mention.
That was exactly at the
it. Okay.
Sides.
Well, did you have this, Gifford? That this is number 62 on Rolling Stone's best 500 albums of all time. So.
I did not.
I'm sure that varies. Every year they put out these things, but top 100 album of all time, which of course that's no surprise, but that's where they have it ranked.
Not at all.
The best-selling albums of all time, and as Pete said, the best-selling debut album of all time.
However, you mentioned that the critics didn't like it at first, so to have it, that shows how things have changed. We've come around from whatever their problems with it were at first, and it's seen in a whole new light now.
Well, and the other thing that I think obviously sets this band apart is Axl's voice, his vocals, the way he can, scream.
Yeah,
don't forget about Slash though. I mean, obviously the guitar solos are just freaking wicked.
Right, absolutely. But you think of a front man for a band, and I mean, you got to put Axl Rose towards the top of the list because we
did that.
Amazing. Yeah, right.
We did.
Yep.
Our favorite front men of bands of the 80s.
Yep.
All right. Anything else to add before we jump into the album itself?
Let's go through it.
What do Welcome to the Jungle and Ricky Henderson have in common?
Oh boy. I don't
steal things.
No, I just thought of that, and I think they both could be considered the greatest leadoff hitters of all time. Because Welcome to the Jungle is the perfect leadoff song. I remember I don't think they do it anymore, but when they would play this to open Vikings games on any the opening kickoff
song.
Yeah, the perfect kickoff song. And I would have this when I've run 2 marathons. This was in both cases my first song that I would play when I was starting the race. And what a freaking great song.
You don't want to blow your wad in a marathon on the first 2 minutes there. You should really
I know that's true, and that probably did slow me down the first time, but can
I ask when the perfect time is to blow your wad during a marathon?
You know it when it happens.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, as the only guy here who has not ran a marathon, I like to learn from those that have. So I just didn't know if there was 17.2 is like the perfect time to blow your wad.
It depends. I'll say it depends on the race, but it's when you can kind of see the finish line, and especially if they have a little downhill to the finish line, because in the Fargo Marathon, you've got this nice stretch once you see the Fargo Dome. That's when you blow your wad, and then you get there and you fly downhill into the dome. And the same thing happened when I did the Twin Cities Marathon. You go through this really hard stretch, but then at the end, I don't know, it's like the last mile or so almost is straight downhill towards the Capitol, and it's awesome. And that's
you come off of Summit Avenue and then you turn left and go down that hill. That's when it is. It's freaking.
That's
wicked.
Correct, Pete. You and me know that.
That's right. Gifford, you're next. This year It's in October. You got plenty of time to train. It's only February now. You got plenty of time to train. Get your running shoes on and go run the Twin Cities Marathon. That's the challenge. And you're going to provide us with updates every week on the show.
I turn that challenge down. No, I will not be doing that.
I choose not to run.
I choose.
I just watched that one the other day. We are getting a little off topic here, but so I want to pull it back to Welcome to the Jungle. Just the perfect drum solo build up. It's impossible to be in a bad mood when this song is on. It's the word banger is just not strong enough of a word for Welcome to the Jungle. And with the lyrics towards, when he goes, my serpentine, towards the end, it's that's when it gets real. That's when you blow your wad. This song was inspired by Axl Rose's first visit to New York City when a homeless man shouted at him, "You know where you are? You're in the jungle, baby. You're gonna die." And MTV initially refused to play this song, and the video struggled to get airplay until David Geffen personally intervened and convinced MTV to give it a shot at 4 a.m., and it became a massive hit. And this was the first song Slash ever played for the band. So a couple of interesting facts here, and another great intro riff. Of course, there's multiple ones on this album, but
I was going to say, you bring up the intro and the drums, and it is awesome. But then when it hits that is just like, God, that's great. It's so good.
You get chills. I got chills just now. Yeah, just when you did that.
I hit that cha. And then, we've heard it a million times, but when you think about this is the debut song you're listening to, and you hear the guitar parts over Axl's voice for the first time. I mean, I'm sitting there listening to it this time, and it's just incredible. And I'd love to just isolate the guitar and just listen to that for a while. It's just amazing. This is my favorite song on the album. I get a little tired of some of the other ones, but this one, I do not get sick of it no matter what. It's awesome.
Yeah, the build in the beginning with the guitar and then with him coming in with that scream over the top of it. I mean, it's the perfect, like you say, lead off, kick off, whatever you want to say to this album. It's just, it's great. And I agree with Brad. This is my favorite song. Like I put together a playlist for pump up music that we play for Paul on the way to games, or at the beginning of our broadcast I'll play it off of my phone into the microphone of Courtney's, so you get that little pump up at the beginning of the broadcast.
Don't play it too early for him.
No
I don't want to blow his wad out there.
Don't want to blow his wad. No.
Yeah. Let's talk more about 14 and 15-year-olds blowing.
Because it's welcome to the jungle. That's what it's just such a great opening song.
Well, and it's a sweet gesture. Welcome to this.
It really is, but it's a little sarcastic.
It's very very nice.
It's a kid's song, basically.
Yeah, it really is.
I just another giant album of an artist that we've talked about. 1989 by Taylor Swift, and you guys maybe don't know or remember, but the opening song is "Welcome to New York," and it's like her version of "Welcome to the Jungle," and I love that song too. Obviously, I love Taylor Swift too, but like those two songs are such great kickoff songs to eat. I mean, that's her big. You can argue that's her biggest album. That was just huge. That was her Thriller album, and it started with the same sentiment as this. So it's a good sentiment. You want to write a giant, huge album, welcome somebody to New York.
Welcome people to New York. Yep. Yeah, and as Pete said, I mean, the jungle was New York. That's where Axl heard that getting off the bus. A young boy coming in from Indiana to the big city of New York, and this is how he's greeted. So, very nice that it made an impression on him, and therefore we were gifted this song.
Moving on to the next one. Song number 2, It's So Easy. I do love this song, although my only criticism, I wouldn't necessarily put it at number 2. But it's still a good song. But again, I mean, based on some of the ordering that you just explained and how they arranged it, I'm sure they knew what they were doing better than I do.
Is there a reason why you kind of put it at number 2? I'm curious.
It doesn't jump out at me as some of the other ones. And now this is a lesser known one. It's not one of their bigger hits. So I'm not necessarily asking them to put Sweet Child of Mine or Paradise City at number 2. But I just felt like that there are some other songs that I like better than this one.
Okay. I was just curious because I agree that maybe I'd move it down 2 or 3 slots, but I have a specific reason for that. I love this song, by the way. It's a fucking great song. This would be my sneaky favorite right off the bat because it wasn't.
All right. Oh, that's high praise.
But I'll tell you why. You can go first if you want, Gifford, or if Pete has more.
Well, I just wanted to say I've got what the song is about. I had a point here. It's about how easy it is to get free alcohol, drugs, and women once your band starts gaining popularity. So that's
just
what
like our podcast.
That's yep. That's right.
So, of course, the debut album, right? So you've got how many years to write?
Hold on. I want to add to that comment. Yeah. I actually find it much harder to get alcohol, drugs, and especially women once I've started this podcast.
Well, that's just you.
Anyway, go on. It's so difficult. That's what my song is.
So difficult.
So you have all these years to write the songs for this, your debut album. And to me, this sounds like an early effort in the songwriting process for the guys that, put this together. So, this band is a combination of, 2 bands coming together to form Guns N' Roses. So they brought along songs with them. So this, to me, it just sounds like an early effort. It sounds like a band trying to be tough. You got a bunch of swear words in there, and I just felt like it was a little I didn't like the slowdown in the middle. So for that reason, I would have.
I like that slowdown. I thought that was cool. I like it.
I wasn't crazy about it. Like we got the next song coming up. I would have moved that one up. I would have taken number 3 and moved it up to 2. Just because you're coming off of Welcome to the Jungle, which is a certified banger. I think this one doesn't quite measure up quite as well. And if we would have moved Night Train up, a spot, I think it would have been a little better start.
We agree on that. I think the song is awesome. What stands out to me about this song, neither one of you brought it up, is like, who is this singing? Like, you listen to the first song and then you listen to this, and it's like, is this Slash? Is this somebody else singing? Because the voice is so different. It sounds like a totally different guy. And I love his voice here. I think it's awesome. And I wish he utilized this voice more often because there's a lot of screeching. When we did our 1996 bracket, and a lot of people complained about Adam Duritz on the Recovering the Satellites, Counting Crows, and how he screeched a lot. I mean, eventually with 12 songs, that does add up. And that would be my one criticism of the album. So my reason for moving this down a couple slots would be to break up that voice. Save this cool low voice for more in the middle, because there's another one later on. And then you have a couple screechers, you got this, a couple more, and then another one. So that's why I would move it. But as a song, this song was a single in the UK, but not here. I would have made it a single. I think it's awesome. I love It's So Easy.
I'm just picturing the producer in the studio saying, "Hey, we got to move up a couple of screechers."
Yeah.
That's how they decide it. All right. Now going on to Night Train, which here it is, guys. This is my sneaky favorite on this album. Choice. I love this song so much. It's just a lot of fun for me, and it's kind of bad. The only downside is, though, it does get to be a little long. Some of these songs get to be a bit long towards the end. This one is 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It's like I could use it to be a little shorter, but the song itself is named after a cheap wine. Night Train is a cheap fortified wine. Or there's actually a cheap fortified wine called Night Train Express, which the band drank constantly when they were broke in Hollywood. And they were all drinking heavily when this song was written and jammed to. Mm-hmm. So
it's an ode. It's an ode to the wine. We should write a song called Boone's Farm.
Yeah, that actually would. I could see that being a song that a Minnesota band like the Jayhawks or the Gear Daddies, might do. an ode to Boone's Farm.
That Boone's Farm does no harm. I don't know. That's how far I got so far.
This is also an awesome song.
Sounds like a Church Central song.
It's a great song. The album is kicking ass at this point. You know, it's
yeah.
Great. What I like about this song, so it's Night Train, but they turned it into one word with one T, Night Rain, really. And I love it's a to get into the English side here. It's a portmanteau, which was when you combine the words and drop a letter and a space. So you got a little English lesson when you listen to Night Train. Oh, you got a portmanteau. So
okay.
I appreciate that, and it kicks ass.
Gesundheit.
Yeah. Well, and to me, this sounds like an LA club band of the mid '80s. You know, I think this is again very simple rhymes and repetitive lyrics, but you know, it just rocks so hard that you know I definitely like this song. Yeah.
All right, moving on to Out to Get Me, song number 4, Batting Cleanup. I enjoy this one. It's a little bit harder, and there's where he swears loudly, "I'm fucking innocent," and it's sort of a fuck you to the authorities. This is after Axl had a brush with the law, and he was pissed off at the police, actually in his hometown of Lafayette, Indiana, is what I found. Kind of a screw you anthem to authority. But the song itself, I thought was good. Not top of the list for sure. Not a candidate for sneaky favorite. But it was enjoyable.
This is my least favorite so far. I still liked it. It's a decent song. I especially like the chorus. It gets better when the chorus comes in. But if I'm ranking the 4 songs, this is my least favorite. But yeah, man, he's innocent, man. That's the theme here.
Wow, I am on the opposite end of your spectrum here. So
I love debate.
Everybody knows, you know, my middle school years, I was in the percussion section along with Brad. So
the start to get us too.
The start to this song,
and she was out to get you guys
every time, Brad. You and I were nothing but. Can you be a choir boy while also being in band? I don't know, but we were there. We were just perfect little angels. But the heavy drums to start this song, I just absolutely love. Got me into the song. I love like the call and response of like the solo portion, and then you know the rest of the band coming in with the harmonies. So for me, this was my sneaky favorite of the G portion of the album. So the front side of the album, this is my sneaky favorite.
All right. So I like it so easy, and you like this?
That's what right.
This show's about. You know, this show would not be interesting if we all agreed on everything, right? So
the problem is I kind of feel like Brad is out to get me on this one.
Well, he is.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all going to agree though on the next song.
Yeah, I know. Brad, this is going to be not even a sneaky favorite. This probably is Brad's favorite song on the album, and I love it too. It's not my favorite just because of the other ones, but it's outside of the huge songs. This might be my favorite. I just fucking love this song.
And what is the song, Pete?
Oh, we're talking about number 5, Mr. Brownstone, which is an obvious reference, which is a reference to heroin use, because Mr. Brownstone was a slang use for the drug. They wrote it. It was actually Slash and Izzy that wrote this song while high. It was Izzy that wrote it while high, and it was in reference to Slash and Izzy's daily routine of heroin use. This one's actually a little faster than some of this song, more rapid vocals. I just think it's a fun song. I love it.
Yeah, so this is the song that always stood out to me when I was younger, outside of the singles. This is the one that was most memorable to me. And I'm listening to it again now and love it. And I love the voice switch ups again here a little bit. And I'm realizing as I hear that I'm a big fan of that. And I want more of that. The screeching is good, but I want more balance between the two. You got to have your token drug song. So that's what we got here. And the lyrics, so I love how they match like the feeling of addiction and needing more and wanting more, and how he keeps saying, he won't leave me alone. That line is great. And it just, it fits right in there. It's not really very thinly veiled what it's about, even though it never, mentions the word heroin or anything. You can pretty much figure that one out by looking at the lyrics.
It's sort of like the contest, the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah.
Not really mentioned what it's about, but it's pretty obvious.
Correct.
Gifford.
Yeah, I completely agree. So the lower vocals I really liked. You know, it's the quick lyrics, but it's also the way how they're quick, but then they kind of slow at the end of every line. And then they pop right back into the, you know, the quick line again. So yeah, it's awesome. The only thing I have to say about this song is yowza. I think that sums it up very well. So
Sure.
Awesome song, great song. Can be a sneaky favorite. I think it's way too big of a song. It was a single, so great song though. Wonderful.
I don't know. Pete's sneaky favorite was Everclear's biggest hit of all time, so you know you can always go that direction.
All right. I think we can just kind of skip past this next one. It's not very good. No, I'm kidding.
It's way too long. It's just
It is too long. You nailed it.
No, this doesn't get too long. Even though it is 6 minutes and 46 seconds, this song could not be long enough. There's no.
I did not think this song was too long at all.
This is freaking awesome. This one probably, when I had the CD back in, I don't know, probably early 90s, 91, 92. This was my favorite song on the album, and it's still right up there. Everything about this song is just kick-ass. This song was actually written, Matt Foley would like this, right? It was written in a van down by the river. I don't know about the down by the river part, but it was written in a van while they were driving back from a gig in San Francisco. Slash, anybody know what the original lyrics, what Slash wanted for the original lyrics?
The girls are fat and they've got big titties.
That's exactly right. And it was and it was Axl that changed it to where the grass is green and the girls are pretty, which I would think that was a good move because the first one they wouldn't have been able to put on the radio. So, but my God, what a great line, what a great song. This is probably what I would have put as my number 2 song, but they didn't ask me. It's the fastest song on the album. It's the only song that has a double time outro, making it the fastest and most energetic track on the album. So yeah, I don't have anything else to add on it, but just the bridge towards the end of it, that's where it really kicks ass. Or it just kind of slows down. It's a little slower and then it just kind of builds and builds at the end. I can't even say enough good things about this song.
Yeah, what I got here is it starts out simmering and then goes to a boil. So that light guitar.
Oh, good, well put.
And then you hit the heavy drums into the harmonizing vocals. So it's very laid back to start and then just hits you like a ton of bricks. I feel at 6, almost 45, I don't feel it's too long because it's a party the whole way through. I don't want it to end. But I do, at the end, I do like how it does slow to an end. And you're just, it's like they're out of breath at the end of it. And they're just, the song just kind of comes down nice and easy. So absolutely love the song. Every time I hear this song, I think of William rocking this song and Can't Hardly Wait. Great scene in that movie of him entertaining all the people at the party, lip syncing to the song. And that's where he gains his groupie following and the girls are all over him after that. So awesome song, an awesome use of it in an awesome movie.
So it's a classic song, and I loved the song when I was a kid too. The drums to me are the star at the beginning of the song. They are awesome. It's a sing along. Who doesn't love a sing along? And it starts right off with that. So it hits you hard right away. But I feel it like kind of blows its wad, like we've been saying. I love the song overall, but I just think the more I listen to it now, it's just kind of repetitive at the end. I wish it was 4 minutes. I'd be fine with it being 4 minutes. I love the whistle and then the guitars. That part's great too. And there, everybody knows the whistle in not whistling like with your lips, but like the actual whistle.
Yes,
in Paradise City.
Yeah, coach's whistle.
And then what I will say though about the length of the song, I think it's properly placed because if you go to our GNR side, this is the last song on the side. And that's where you should place your long song. And if you're going to have a party that goes on and on, then this is where it should be. So if I'm listening to it on the radio, I'd like 4 minutes. But if I'm listening to it on the album and it's the end of the side, and it's great. So that's my opinion on the length of the song.
Brad, you always were a beam of darkness in a world of light. Appreciate that.
That is absolutely not what I just did. I talked about how good it was over and over, and gave it credit and said it was perfectly placed. But you guys do you.
So this wraps up our G side of the album. So this is the drugs, the hard living in the big city, and now we turn the page to the R side, the romance, the sex, the relationships, and we get into, I wouldn't say well, I suppose for Guns N' Roses, this is the softer side of Guns N' Roses.
This next song,
they didn't want to put Patience on this album because they already had a ballad.
They already had the ballad.
Right. I don't really think a Sweet Child of Mine is a ballad, because I'm thinking of ballads like, Love Bites and like the really like sugary, hard, hard heavy metal band songs, and that's still a rocker is what that is. But it's a banger. I mean, it's a ballad, and really. But I think there was room for Patience too if they wanted to put it on there.
It was a banger.
I agree. The next song, My Michelle, I remember this one as being the first non-big. So when I had the CD, this was the first non-big song that stood out to me. Something just stuck with me on it. It probably was my sneaky favorite back in whenever I had it, 92. But this song was originally written about a person named Michelle Young, who was a friend of the band, who had a rough upbringing involving drugs and tragedy. Axl wanted to originally make it a love song, but Michelle wanted him to be honest in the song instead of just making it a love song. So that's what they did. This one has a really sweet guitar intro. It's a little bit more subdued at the very beginning, and then it just sort of picks its way up again, kind of like what you're saying about the other one. This is a really good song. Not quite up there as the sneaky favorite, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, this is pretty hardcore in what it's about. And they weren't sure, if they should like do that, but she signed off on the content. Talks about her being on drugs, having no mom, had dad in porno. It's got a nice ending. She made a good life for herself, I read. And it's nice of them because she told Slash she wanted a song written about her when they were listening to Elton John's Your Song, and they did it, and they were very honest with it.
Yeah. This is my least favorite song of the second half. Although Michelle sounds like a good time gal, and I always like a good time gal, it's just a little too repetitive for me.
Oh, you're such a beam of darkness.
Right. It just kind of fell flat for
me. I can
Michelle.
accept it when we're talking about My Michelle. I will not accept it when we're talking about Paradise City. That's what my beef is. Anyway, go on.
That's all I had. I didn't mean to end it on a down note, but yeah.
Can you hear this, Pete? Do you want me to turn it up?
Well, for the audience, the visual is that Brad had an inverted middle finger and then turned it up.
Our audience knows the Breakfast Club, and they can get that without even seeing it.
I bet they could. Think about, the next song is Think About You. This is a good song, too. I didn't mind it. Didn't really jump out, but this one was never released as a single, but a lot of people think this was probably the most overlooked song on this album. It was written by Izzy Stradlin, and the song was written by. It was one of the few tracks where he had a major songwriting influence. Talking about Izzy there, so yeah, it's all right. I don't have a lot to add about the song itself, Brad.
Yeah, so Gifford didn't like My Michelle very much, or as much. This was the first song on the album that I considered kind of a filler. This is probably my least favorite, which is still pretty decent. It's a decent song. I didn't hate it, but as I'm listening to the album, every song to this point was like, I know this song, I love the song, it's really good. And this one felt like the first kind of filler to me. And I wrote down, this is where Axl's voice is starting to grate on me a little bit too.
I thought the same thing. The songs themselves do start to get a little repetitive at this point in the album, until, of course, the next one. But we'll have Gifford talk about this song now. Think About You.
So I like this song. I like that it's hard driving. I like that there's a little extra guitar riff in the background, kind of doesn't stand out a lot, but I like that it's in there. So I was a fan of this song. Maybe just because I was coming off of My Michelle, which wasn't my favorite. So, but I liked this one.
All right, now here it is. Probably one of my all-time favorite songs. Not just with Guns N' Roses, but with any band, especially any metal band. When this comes on, it's about like Bohemian Rhapsody, where I will just stop what I'm doing. Everyone else, please shut up. This song is on. Absolutely beautiful guitar intro, which actually was not intended to be anything. It was just Slash in the recording studio, just messing around. And the rest of the band heard it and they loved it. And so they made it a part of this song. And my God, what a great, fantastic guitar intro and guitar solo. And it's actually
iconic.
It is iconic. It is, I would say, the most iconic of all guitar intros, if not guitar solos. And there's actually 2 great guitar solos in this song. And that's obviously one of them. Gifford, you look like you're about to say something.
I literally have written on my notes, iconic guitar.
You and me are always like that.
It's like you guys are sharing a brain. You're sharing a brain.
It's so off though. Brad and I are off on this, but it's absolutely nuts. As great as the guitar is in this song, the lyrics are just as good. The lyrics,
oh God, yes,
gorgeous in this song. It's absolutely amazing. So you combine 2 unbelievable things, the lyrics and the guitar together. I mean, this is an amazing song. Can
you think about how this? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I said this is.
I will talk. I was just going to say another little fun fact. It's kind of amazing that the 2 great parts of this song, the guitar intro is kind of an accident. Also, the bridge in this song where he says, "Where do you go now?" That was also an accident. That wasn't really written into the original lyrics, and they didn't know what was going to happen, but they were playing it, and they got to that point every time in the song. And then Axl just said at one point, he said, "Where do we go now?" Asking the producer what they should do next.
They wanted to add a breakdown in there, and they were looking for one, and they couldn't get it. And then they said, "Where do we go?" And that's how it came about.
And then he goes, "There it is. That's what I want you to do." And
where do we go? This is their ballad.
Yes.
But it's a beautiful song. I mean, for a heavy metal, hair metal, whatever, it's a beautiful song with great lyrics. And the thing that made this song such a giant hit is that it's such a cross-gender appeal. Like, not that you have to be a girl and like certain things, and a guy, but obviously Welcome to the Jungle is a little more hard rock, going to be a little more probably liked by your hardcore, guys that love that kind of thing. This is a song like, my sister was in high school. Like she could throw this on and just rock out to it. All these girls would do that back then because it sounds like a song that a girl would love as well. And so, that's why it was such a giant hit. Besides, great lyrics, great guitar, great breakdown, great everything. I mean, but the way it sounds, it appeals to a wide audience.
Well, the lyrics are just great poetry for me. I mean,
the ballads tend to be the bigger hits for these bands because they do attract both genders. One thing I will say about the lyrics, the 3 of us, I mean, what do we love on this show, Pete? What's our number 1 thing?
Women. Nostalgia, Gifford.
Wally World, Dad.
The first 2 lines of this song, she's got a smile that it seems to me reminds me of childhood memories. I mean, that's what all this is about, right? That's why we're doing our 5th season of this show is about childhood memories, and this song it mentions it right away.
And anybody the way, the she is Erin Everly, daughter of one of the Everly brothers, Don Everly. So she's actually
what I was just going to say.
Music related. Maybe she wasn't necessarily well known, but very famous dad.
Yeah, absolutely. This, surprisingly to me, this is the only Guns N' Roses song to hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. So
I don't know if that's surprising because Def Leppard's only number 1 was Love Bites. A lot of these bands are huge albums, but the songs don't quite reach. They'll get to top 10, but they don't quite get that top line. That's pretty common, I think, with these guys.
I did mention earlier that this song has really two great guitar solos when you count the intro and then later in the middle. And we're having our draft later. You could almost draft this one twice, but I'm not going to that level of detail. So if you do pick this, you're picking the song itself. So we're not going to.
So you're saying to our draft, not saying measures 23 through 30.
Correct.
The mine is my number one pick, and measures.
I've got the sheet music right here. That's a separate guitar solo.
All right, just so okay, good, because I did not break it down like that either. Good.
No.
All right. Now we're talking about You're Crazy, which I had described as one of the more fun songs on the album, with its faster guitar riff. Did you say fun too? Fun.
I said still fun.
Still fun.
Yeah, well,
yes,
this is one of Gifford's famous lines. It's the girl. She sounds like a fun time gal.
She is, absolutely. She's a good time gal. Yeah, this to me sounds like a jam session for the band. Like, so it's fun. Again, hard driving, a little disjointed here and there, but that's to me where the jam session part comes in.
I think it's kind of ironic that this is a girl when it's coming from a hair metal band that wants too much sex. Like, it's almost too much for them, and that's why she's crazy. That's kind of funny. I like the song okay because it's short and it's fast, and as I don't want to get stuck listening to something that's too long and repetitive. So give me a little short song here. That's great.
If there's one thing that we hate, it's girls that want too much sex, right?
Well, that's what Axl Rose would say, I guess.
This song was actually first written as a much slower bluesy track, but then they sped it up so that it would fit this album better. The original slower version is on GNR Lies. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. This one was a candidate for sneaky favorite, but it didn't win.
Didn't win. Oh, damn it.
All right, I guess anything goes. Which is the next song. It's actually the oldest song in the catalog, dating back to Hollywood Rose, a pre Axl and Izzy, or it's actually pre Guns N' Roses with just Axl and Izzy, if I read that right.
1981.
Yes, the original lyrics for this song were way more explicit than what you hear on this album. A lot of sexual references.
Or explicit?
More explicit, yes.
That's my note here. This one's pretty sexually explicit.
That's what I think read.
It's ironic.
That the original one was more explicit.
I think it's ironic coming on the heels of the song where they were kind of talking about a girl that wanted too much sex, and now we got this totally explicitly sexual song. So
and we're not even to the next one, which is even more sexual. The last
you get a good English lesson with this album with irony and portmanteau, and there's a lot going on here. It's pretty deep.
Well, and to be fair, this is the R side of the album, not the X side of the album. So they tamed it down from the X-rated lyrics to just go R lyrics here, for sure. So I just wrote that this is a very naughty song. It is it's the heavy metal Kama Sutra, basically. I just love the first line of the song. I've been thinking about sex. Like, you got two words with apostrophes for taking out a letter in each. I just think it's great. This is my sneaky favorite of the second half.
All right, I gotta listen to this one again because these last three I kind of rushed through fast. I liked the song fine. I don't remember, maybe I liked it better than I thought I did, but I just said it wasn't bad. It's a good song.
I actually didn't like. I think it's probably because of the location on the album. This is where it's starting to run old for me.
And once you get past Sweet Child of Mine, it's tough with these last three to like hang in there because it's
that's right. It's following that up. It's
wad. So
that's where they blew their wad. That's exactly right.
Hard to hang in there for the last three if you already blew your wad.
That's right.
Getting tired.
I will be checking the little explicit content on this one.
Speaking of three more gifts, I was buying some golf stuff with my wife the other night, and she thought I played a noodle. And I told her the story about my noodle that one day at FA Gross.
Yes.
That was so funny.
It's so good. I still use that line. I've told that story I don't know how many times.
I'm not going to share it, but if you were listening and would like to know the story of the noodle, hit me up and I'll tell you.
I don't know if I know the story of the noodle, but
you weren't golfing with us.
On a great course, by the way, a great old growth.
Oh, I do love that course.
It grows great, but yes, that was a great line. I couldn't have told you what course that was on, so thank you for reminding me. But yeah, great line.
Moving on to song number 12, the final song on the album called Rocket Queen. This one gets a little bit sexual too.
Is that what it was about? Thank you.
There was real, you do hear moaning, orgasmic moaning in the song, and that is a real recording of Axl having sex with Adriana Smith, who was the drummer's girlfriend at the time. The drummer Steven Adler.
Wild.
In the recording booth.
It also said maybe
sharing is nice.
But there might have been multiple guys that did this with her in there, and there might have been a couple other women in and out. I mean, this is a pretty great closing thing for a band like this. He wanted a pornographic sound, so they made a pornographic sound. Did you see what she agreed to do this?
No.
She agreed to do this for the band and for a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Oh, nice.
So
okay.
Her demands were high.
and met, obviously.
Yeah, sounded like it.
The one thing I did say, I like the fun little interlude with lady moans in there. The only thing I will say, it didn't need to be 6:15 long.
Thank you.
So
now we all agree, because I wrote the song's okay. I don't mind it, but I mean, I'm at the end of the album here. I'm spent. It's too long for the last.
It was a good close. This though, like Brad said earlier, that length of a song, that's a good closer of a song.
It's the right place to put it.
I thought it was good.
Cut it
yes.
off if you want. And,
I felt a little bit like Kramer in this one, where you just fake it because it's been enough already. You just want to get some sleep.
Enough already, and you just want to be over with. I just want to get some sleep.
Right. But still fun, like you say, great closer. The side is about sex and relationships and all that stuff.
Story.
So yeah, wonderful.
Whatever the truth is about all that, it's a good story, and it's fun to think about what really happened there in that sound studio.
Yep. So not a bad way to close.
All right. I did have one last fact that I put on here. It was Geffen Records almost abandoned the album because the early sales were so poor. But then, as we discussed, when Sweet Child of Mine blew up, then the album skyrocketed, saving it and propelling Guns N' Roses to one of the biggest rock bands in the world. Just think about that one song, the influence that it had.
To think that and like how many can you say that about? Because like if a album's going to be big, it's pretty much big right away. So it's just such an interesting story behind this that you wouldn't expect if you didn't know it, because
that especially wouldn't happen today.
No. But glad that it wasn't canceled or whatever. It finally took a foothold, because holy cow, these are the songs that help define our middle school years, and they're just awesome to listen back to and just have some fun with, and then of course get to talk to you guys about as well.
Of course. Any other final comments before we go into our draft?
No, sir.
I would just say that I hadn't listened to it in a long time, and sometimes I get nervous about if I'm going to like it or not, but it was really fun to listen to. It was a good time. It
definitely was.
And I like doing it.
Okay, our draft tonight is going to be top guitar solos of all time. And again, you picked it only down to the song level. You're not going to pick two from one song, even though it might apply. So it's going to start with me, and then we're going over to Brad, and then to GIF, if I have my memory correct. The number one song is going to be the one that we just discussed, which is Sweet Child of Mine. Sorry, guys.
No,
I'm glad you took that.
And applauding you, because again, I've said it before, usually when we do these top fives, you will completely dismiss the topic of the evening.
The thing that he picked.
When it comes to...
I do that.
I haven't
I haven't done that in a long time.
No, you haven't.
I'm glad you picked it. It's obviously a great choice. It's in my like top 3 here, but I'm gonna take. So I have some songs that are like obviously great, famous guitar solos that I like, but they're on my list more because they're famous. And then I have songs that are like songs I love, and they have a great guitar solo in them. My number one choice to me is the easy number one pick, and it fits both categories. That's Hotel California.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is one of my all-time favorite songs. It's one of the best songs ever written, and that guitar solo is again iconic.
Yeah.
How many times are the Eagles going to get selected tonight? Actually, is one of my questions.
Well,
because there's a lot that I think could be.
Oh, there's a lot. I mean, there's a ton you could pick from, but yeah, it's all these bands could have a lot, I'm sure.
Right.
But I think we can all agree that's the obvious pick. That's like one of the all-time classics.
Yeah. And I mean, I've got more than one from, each band on here, but I tried to kind of star the one that I thought was the best one. And of course I'll mention later when we do our honorable mentions, but I'm going to be a homer. I'm taking Purple Rain.
Oh,
that's a good one.
Yep. I had a different Prince song higher, but that's obviously a pretty good choice there, Purple Rain.
Thank you.
Just because I like the other song better myself, but
sure. Yep.
This may be a better guitar solo, so.
Right.
Well, there's one that stands when I think of guitar solos. One that actually really does stand out to me that I absolutely love. I'm going with One by Metallica, Chris Hammett.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take another all-time classic, maybe one of the first great ones ever. I don't know if you guys got this on your list or not, but I'm taking Johnny B. Good.
Oh, yep, I got him.
I thought that was Michael J. Fox.
No, it's Chuck Berry and
right. Well, it'd be Marty McFly. Not
we have video evidence that Michael J. Fox did it before Chuck Berry, and Chuck Berry stole the idea.
And Marlon heard it
thanks to his cousin. Yes, exactly.
Yep. No, I had that one high on my list, Brad. That is an excellent pick.
I mean, and that's like an innovator. That's one that set the standards. So
certainly did. All right, I am going to go with one of the all-timers. You can't go guitar solos without mentioning this gentleman. I'm going with Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower.
Mm-hmm. See, that's one of the ones that I had listed that's a great, obvious choice.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, and I like it, and I like Jimi Hendrix, but it's not like, in my... That's what I was talking about. Like the ones that you're going to pick because they're great, and the ones you pick because you love, and
yeah,
that one's obviously great.
Yes, it is.
I hate to do this, but I'm doubling up on a song, but I think on a band, but I think it applies just because of how much I love this song and both songs really. November Rain. I'm going a Slash again. November Rain, Guns N' Roses.
High on my list.
That's sure a big one.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to pick my next highest one here, which I don't know if either of you have. Maybe Pete does. But this one I always found interesting because, all these 80s bands and hair metal bands, like a guitar solo is a staple of the music and of the song. And when grunge came around, I don't feel like there's a lot of guitar solos. There's not.
That's true. I was looking for that too.
There's guitars, obviously, but that big solo, that loud, awesome solo isn't really, that's kind of where they differ to me. However, one of my first favorite ever grunge songs is Alive by Pearl Jam. And that has a fucking great guitar solo in it. And I love that song. So I'm going to give grunge a shout on my list with Alive.
Great pick.
Thank you.
All right. So, yes, this is one of the reasons I love this top 5 list is because there's so many I'm going to forget, and I love that you guys are coming up with ones that I did not write down. But I'm going to go with one that I absolutely love. Again, these guys are great guitarists across their whole library. I wrote down quite a few of their songs, but top of my list for this band from ZZ Top is Tush.
Tush. They can play the guitar and they can spin the guitar with their big beards.
But can they play the guitar just like ringing a bell? And you got that one.
I got that one.
Yep.
A song that I had actually mentioned briefly earlier this episode is going to get some love here. Brian May in Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep. Yes, sir. Listen to that one last.
I got 3 more that I want to pick really bad. I only got 2 spots left.
Oh no.
My next one, I'm going to go into another category of music. I'm going to try a little variety here. So there's been a lot of talk about yacht rock lately. It's becoming very popular, and there was this really good documentary that's on HBO. I don't know if you guys watched it. I watched that recently. But I got into Steely Dan in college a little bit, but not a ton. But like I listened to him more later. The song "Peg" by Steely Dan. You two probably aren't going to say it by name, but you go listen to that song and listen to the guitar solo in there, and you tell me that doesn't belong in this list. It wails. Peg, Steely Dan.
Yeah. Oh my God, I got so many good ones left. Oh shit. All right. I'm gonna go. I think I'm gonna go "Walk This Way," Aerosmith.
That's a good selection.
This is not a bad selection. You can't miss on this list.
All right. Well, I'm actually going to take one that I think a lot of people out there listener, would probably have this one number 1 on their list. And if you're asking nationally, it probably is. It's considered one of the greatest guitar solos of all time for sure. I'm going with "Stairway to Heaven." Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to guess a different one, but yeah, that makes sense. I had a different one in my head.
Can I ask?
Well, I'm not going to say it yet in case Gifford picks it.
Oh, okay.
So you picked "Stairway to Heaven."
Yep.
That's correct.
Yeah, obviously. Good choice.
Okay.
All right. I got 2. Can we do an honorable mention after our 5?
We're going to do all of our honorable mentions.
I know. Okay. I'll say it when we do. The funny, and I knew this would happen, like most of my list, neither one of you picks, so we're going to have a lot to go through here.
Sorry, I want to call a timeout because we just received a text message from one of our listeners who had been texting us, by the way, who listens to it on his work site. We're going to thank Nick because he says he's having one of Gifford's taste bud orgasms.
Oh, lucky you, Nick. Nice. So
I like that phrase. It's a taste bud orgasm.
They put out some good meat. That's where we take our cattle, and that's where I get my quarter beef every year. So excellent. That looks like a great steak, cooked very, very properly.
I did not get
this. Breaking news. So I had
Thank you, Nick.
to come in.
Well, you're
on the text.
If you wanted to get shouted out live on our show, send us a random text on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday night around like 8 o'clock.
Yep.
We'll put you on.
Even if, yeah.
Yep. Long time texter, first time mentioned live on the podcast.
All right. I got 2 more that I want to pick so bad, and I don't know what to pick. These are both ones that I didn't think of at first, but I'm like looking up once. And when I heard the song again, and when I look, I'm like, oh my God, these are like, you can't miss these. And one of them, I'm going to go, I feel like this one's maybe slightly different category of music. So I'm going to pick that one. I'm going to pick "My Sharona" by the Knack.
Oh, that's a sneaky.
I didn't have that.
Yeah. See, you didn't think of that one, but now when you think of it, it's like, wow. And you'll say the same thing about my other one I'm bringing up.
God dang it. Okay.
Better, I'm picking "My Sharona."
So I've got 3 left that I really want to take, but I can't leave off arguably the greatest guitar guy in all of rock with Eddie Van Halen. I'm going to go "Panama."
Okay, that's on my list. So the one that I thought Pete was going to pick that I'm surprised neither one of you picked was "Freebird."
Freebird, yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I got it on here.
All right. You can go first, Pete. It's your show. So.
All right, I'll go. I got a couple of Metallica ones. I've got Nothing Else Matters and Fade to Black. I had Beat It, Eddie Van Halen, the Michael Jackson song. You just mentioned Eddie Van Halen. Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions.
Nice.
Black Hole Sun, Soundgarden.
Oh, does that have a good guitar solo in it too?
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, and Spoon Man also showed up on my list.
Oh, I get the love.
And then I had a couple, rounding it out, a couple of Eagles ones, Life in the Fast Lane and Heartache Tonight.
Yeah, Life
Joe
in the
Walsh.
Fast Lane.
Joe Walsh.
Once they added Joe Walsh, the guitar solo became big. All right, the one I wanted to pick so bad. So I want to shout out our friends at Surely You Can't Be Serious, because they recently talked about this album like a month or two ago. Supertramp. Maybe you don't think of them right away, but the song Goodbye Stranger at the end is just a hardcore, fast, crazy guitar solo. It is so good, and I wanted to add that, but I only had room for 5.
Yep.
Here's one that I thought of right away because I love this song, and we talked about this band on the show, and maybe it's more of a guitar like riff than a solo because it's the same thing over and over again. But you're not going to think of Coldplay right away. But the song Fix You, which is that slow, long build, and once it kicks in, that guitar part just gives me goosebumps every single time, and I love it. So I want to give them a shout out. I had Let's Go Crazy, Purple Rain, obviously great. Let's Go Crazy, my personal favorite. Next on my list would have been Sister Christian. I would love to pick that.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
My Metallica entry is For Whom the Bell Tolls. Love that one.
Not bad.
You could go Photograph or Rock of Ages for Def Leppard.
I went Photograph.
You had Panama, which would have been my choice too, but probably the more famous guitar is Eruption. It's just all guitar. Eruption by Van Halen.
Did you see Gifford just flip you off right there? I don't know if you saw that, but he just did that. That's exactly what he did.
A couple more. I don't have a lot of U2 in my list here, but Pride in the Name of Love has a great guitar solo.
Oh my God, yes.
Yep. The Kinks, You Really Got Me. I mean, I should have that in my top 5. Love that one. While My Guitar Gently Weeps. That's one that's going to pop up right away every time. Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. Layla, that's one of the more famous ones of all time. And my last one on my list is Crazy Train.
Yep, got that one too.
And when you gave me this list, Pete, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. But, you do a little research. And this turned into one of the most fun. Like, I listened to these songs over again. This was a fantastic list, Pete. Way to go.
We could do a whole nother episode on these, I have a feeling, and not run out.
What I'm going to do here, I got 23 songs listed here. I'm going to make a playlist, and I'm going to make a playlist of those 23 songs. I'm going to listen to it over and over.
On the treadmill, you could do it on a treadmill.
Right.
I could do it anything I want.
So
what's left?
The last ones the two that I couldn't get on that I really wanted to, Back in Black, and then Nothing But a Good Time.
Oh,
also from Poison, I had he tells him CC, grab a bad guitar and talk to me. Talk dirty.
Talk to me.
Thunderstruck from AC/DC. Also Jump from Van Halen. Great stuff. LaGrange from ZZ Top. I would have loved to have in there. Sweet Emotion, another one from Aerosmith. I went with Crossroads from Cream, Eric Clapton. And then a couple more. Santana, Black Magic Woman is spectacular.
Oh, yes. I love that one.
But there's a lot of great Santana stuff, but that was the one that I picked out of his catalog. And then Stevie Ray Vaughan, I like Pride and Joy. I think that Texas Flood was the one I kept seeing on the list, but Pride and Joy to me is my favorite one. So that's what I had on my list.
My God, that was a fun episode, wasn't it?
That was good. That was a good time.
Not too shabby.
I hope that I'm going to make a playlist. I hope that people out there listening will go listen to some of these songs or listen to Appetite for Destruction and come back and tell us what you like.
Or listen to more Pop Culture Yearbook.
Well, listen to that again afterwards too. But
right.
We would love to hear your favorite guitar solos and your thoughts on Appetite for Destruction. And then go tell a friend to listen and then have them tell us as well. Pyramids.
Exactly.
what do we got cooking for next week?
Next week, we're changing genres. We're going to get into the country and Western side of things.
Both kinds of music, country and Western.
We're going to get into this little-known artist, not a really big deal at all, but Garth Brooks, and we're going to be covering The Hits album. Is he
going to be on the show? Is Garth going to be on the show?
I've been reaching out to his people, hoping they'll reach out to my people. I did, for those who were wondering, did find my No Fences CD, so I have my set is back.
Oh.
Well,
we're going to be talking about.
I also have the hits on CD. My wife did, and so I'm going to be listening to the CD.
Yep, but I was missing my No Fences CD, and I was able to find it. So,
but let's also shout out Dave from Totally 80s and 90s Recall, who told us right away after he listened to our show when we didn't know where you can find it, that you can find Garth Brooks on Amazon Music and only there. However, the hits isn't on there that I could find, so you'd have to go through and you could listen to all the songs for free, but you'd have to create your own list.
Right. I ordered it. I ordered it off the eBay, and so it should be coming any day now.
Excellent. So look at next week. That's going to be a good one. But yeah, this was a fun one tonight for sure. Great.
Hey, Gifford.
Yes, sir.
What band blows its load too early every time?
That is definitely Preacher Row.
That's right. It's that drummer. The drummer always gets you.
Every time from the back row. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening.
All right. See you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your song is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my path. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do. And hide if you want to.